let's think about where we are today and what is in the adjacent possible today, and how is that influencing how you think about where the infrastructure for coordination, collaboration among groups is going to go.
Well, I mean, the adjacent thing that popped up was AI, right? And I didn't mention this before, but when I was a law professor, I had the opportunity to co-author a book on blockchain law and policy, and I had a year just to think about where can this space go, right? Because I was trying to help policymakers or other folks kind of understand the legal challenges that will come up. And so me and my co-author, Primavera Di Filippi, we spent a lot of time thinking about what would happen if AI matures, right? Because there's a lot of really challenging questions that emerge. So once we saw kind of the innovations of like GPT moving from 2 to 3, it became pretty clear, like a siren call in my mind, that like this was happening, right? Like this adjacent possibility was happening. And it actually internally made me chuckle a little bit because I helped draft this legislation in Wyoming about DAOs. And there's 2 provisions, one dealing with like more democratically run groups like the ones we supported, and then more algorithmically run DAOs.
Interesting.
And a lot of lawyers at the time were like, meh, that's never going to happen. And it was completely fair, but it looks like that's happening now. And I think there was a lot of skepticism, 2 years ago about how fast this would move. I feel like at every inflection point, it's just moving faster than people anticipated, which reminds me of Ethereum, right? And or Wikipedia, right? Like it's exceeding expectations at every turn. Like if there's a barrier, it's kind of pushing its way through it. And I think the adjacency is really crypto and AI are going to merge together at some point in time. And when we think of DAOs and we're talking about it in the Bitcoin or Ethereum ecosystem, we weren't just talking about crypto, we were talking about crypto plus AI. AI doing a lot of the automation, and crypto really being the rails for that to happen. And so that's really been a core focus of where we're moving. So we've been spending a lot of time in the past year because we feel like the reasoning engines are like crossing a threshold at this point, like where we see that these things may actually be as good at us or possibly better than us, and the jury's still out, but that seems to be the trend. Where we're going to have organizations that are going to have AI at the center, and I think crypto kind of at the edges. And that's really the fully fledged out idea for DAOs. And that's, again, not me. That's just what I think a lot of folks have thought about for quite some time. It just seems like that mode is on now. Right?
It's on. All right. AI at the center, crypto at the edge. That makes sense to me conceptually. What does it mean for you in practice?
So we've been looking at the venture ecosystem. And one way to think about what AI will do is it just turns services into software. And so if you look at a fund, there's a service that's being provided by lots of different actors. The humans are providing their decision-making, their reasoning, their judgment, their valuation of a project. And when you start breaking that down into sub-pieces, it's a combination of doing diligence related to the project, thinking about what that project can mature into, assessing, team, a whole bunch of other technology, a whole bunch of other factors. So when you start breaking it down into smaller pieces, you can see that you can probably use AI to begin to evaluate each of these steps. If you stitch that all together, you can begin to actually automate the decision-making process related to venture potentially, right? And so we've been building, I think, what is one of the first systems that's going to be able to do that in earnest. You could just put in information about a project. It could be a link to the project's website. It could be a deck, which is what lots of companies use. Hopefully soon, it's also like their GitHub repo or some other code. And that full analysis happens 5 to 7 minutes later. And we have a network of agents that we built that are different venture personas that vote. So we like this idea of agents being democratic participants. And
team members,
right? Colleagues. And so we're going to be rolling that out pretty soon. And we think that's the first of many ways that we can begin to automate some of these processes. So we talked about like portfolio management before. So if DAOs are pretty good or excellent at kind of seeing where things are going, well, if we have automation tooling to handle the portfolio management, well, maybe that's just...
You can take a lot of that. You can pre-program a lot of that or just delegate it.
And if we can deliver it kind of at scale using, tech, you can also reduce the cost too, which I think could be great as well. So those are the types of things that we're beginning to think about. And then we're also beginning to think about what happens if these agents are part of an organization, right? Like maybe another way to think about DAOs is where you're hiring a whole bunch of these agents into an organization and what does that look like? And so we've been poking around a lot with different kind of adjacent tasks that are going to be relevant to organizations. So we're pretty excited about
like
that.
What?
Like this past couple weeks, we built kind of a dedicated research associate that can do things like background checks on projects. Not like, just like what have they done, what's their bio, et cetera, with the affiliated links. Because we love the legal stuff, we can't get enough of it. We just built like an automated kind of startup lawyer that we're going to be talking about soon. I think we're going to move into the finance realm as well. So just like basic like financials. I don't know. We're just having like a kind of a fun time with it at this point.